The Mel Carmine Show begins in just 1 minute. Support the movement. Visit QFS1776.com for exclusive one-of-a-kind merch that makes a powerful statement. Protect your wealth. Cash is trash. Go to carminesgold.com and secure real assets, silver, gold, delivered anywhere in the U.S. Text Mel at 786-704-8817. Looking to acquire XRP? Minimum is $10,000 investment, and there is no limit, even up to $100 million worth. Again, text Mel with full details at 786-704-8817 and allow up to 24 hours for a response. And if by chance you're visiting Cape Canaveral or you are a local, visit stayingalive.com, alive with 2 E's, and recharge your body at the cellular level. The show with your host, Mel Carmine, starts right now. Well, ready. We are ready. Absolutely. He's asking me if I'm ready. I'm always ready. I was born ready. Anyway, guys, look, we got massive war going on, a war of the minds, information war on steroids. There's a tremendous amount of confusion. This episode is going to be here with Larry Ballard, obviously, about gold, silver, the reset, XRP, the geopolitical confusion, war. I mean, look, I'm going to give it to you straight. I won't tell you who this person is, but this morning I've been going back and forth, and I don't lay down to nobody. Understand? This dude lays down to nobody. And so this guy said that the whole thing in Venezuela is staged. It's all theater. It's all artificial intelligence. None of it's true. This is footage about some soccer game that they won eons ago, and they're using that old footage to bamboozle us. When my mother lives right down the street, right down the hallway from this lady Karina for years, for decades, right down, 2 doors down, happens to be from where? Venezuela. She's got people in Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela, in the center who have verified beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can't see where the festivities start and where the festivities end. And I told this to this person that we got boots on the fucking ground, and he still continues that it's bullshit. This is how the type of Trump derangement syndrome that these fuckers have. Brother, you just told me you're confused. I'm sure you're probably hearing a lot of conflicting bullshit out there. I'm wondering what the hell you're listening to out there. Please enlighten us.
Well, I guess the way I would look at it is I follow The Art of War from Sun Tzu. And Sun Tzu says you never let your enemy know what you're doing. And he says disinformation is one of the most valuable tools in any war. So what I've noticed on my feeds today is an unprecedented amount of disinformation. For every story, there's a counter story. The story is silver is going to crash. The silver is going to go through the moon. We're going to collapse China. China's going to collapse us. I mean, there's not any thread that has continuity, which tells me that there's a lot happening. This is the period where things are changing behind the scenes, and we're not supposed to pay attention. We're not supposed to know what's going on. So at any rate, what we're going to do today is, to the best of our ability, break some of this down in good old-fashioned common sense and see if we can't give you some truth amidst all of the confusion.
Yeah, well, look, you got a slideshow here ready to present that we're going to present to the audience. I'm sure it's going to be very enlightening, very interesting as usual. But, even despite all of this, silver is, again, at almost $78, scratching $80. Okay, it's really not that much down, right? Maybe a couple of bucks, whatever. The real estate market is the only thing that I see crashing as a result of all of this. The stock market potentially, but the crypto markets that have to do with the transference of wealth, not so much. I think we're on our way. I think when we start seeing XRP moving in tandem with silver, where you're seeing $5, $6, $8 a day price jumps, I think that's the beginning of the beginning. Am I right? So, look, you got China saying, release Maduro and his wife, do it now because we need the oil, and you just cut off one of our sources of one of our gravy trains. You got Cuba completely devastated. Their gravy train has come to a complete halt because that was the only source of income. They're in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. And you got Colombia, which is still a drug nation. You can't have the devil and light and heaven on earth living side by side in kumbaya. Somebody's got to die. Am I right or am I wrong?
Let's just say that the titans are clashing behind the scenes. This may not be a kinetic war in the sense of an out and out, bombs dropping, but here's what I think is happening. And we'll get into the slides in a minute. I think that basically we are in a technological age where there are all kinds of weapons. There's cyber that can be used. Oil is a strategic weapon. Silver is a strategic weapon. The dollar as a strategic weapon. And so basically we're trying to sabotage economies, and other nations are trying to sabotage our economy, and everybody wants everybody else to think our side is winning. So I'm not going to try to go there and predict who's winning. I'm not going to try to get into the minutia. I'm just going to try to take you to some common sense, big picture things that are going to happen. And as always, for those who have ever watched me, it all has a biblical inference over the top of it. So I'm going to start, once we go to the slides, with what I think is really the only piece of solid truth I can find in this, and that's basically the fulfillment of two of Kim Clement's prophecies that people have been saying for years. They didn't happen. My prediction is they happened on Christmas Day. So if you don't mind, if we go to those slides, I'll read those real quick.
Yeah, we'll do that. But before I do that, I want to mention one thing. I left a message for Nino Rodriguez. I hope he decides to have a round table and invite me and you on that round table, because I think it'll be an interesting round table. He's talking about that maybe, just maybe, they're going to bring in Vance and Rubio as a ticket in 2028. That would be disastrous. First of all, Rubio is not a good guy. Okay, he's got plenty of dirt. Okay, we know for sure that Vance has got plenty of dirt. We know his wife is the handler. We know that it might not be the same guy, because this guy's a little taller, a little bit bigger bone, etc. Doesn't look like the same guy. And he talked a lot of shit about Donald Trump. I mean, a tremendous amount of shit that you guys can pull up all over the internet. You can pull it up and go watch it for your own amusement. You can't get that much egg off your face. I'm sorry. Okay? You don't bring in Rubio and Vance, because the New World Order in lockstep will not miss a beat. It will be back in business like that. Am I right or am I wrong?
I'm going to answer your question in an unusual way. I don't care what anybody says. The facts will be told when the time comes. Maybe Eric Trump will run. Who knows?
Eric Trump would be the best choice.
In the 2026 midterms. Let's see how that falls out. Let's see how things shake out. We're in the midst of the greatest fight for power that the world has ever seen. So that's too far out for me to predict.
Yeah.
But when we do get to that intangible terms, then we can debunk that ticket.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
So we dive into this. So
can here's you see my screen.
I can.
Okay, perfect. Some slides, because we want to make the show as short as possible, hopefully under an hour. Some slides he's going to read. Some slides you guys are going to have to pause and read them for yourself. But this is going to be a powerful presentation, nevertheless. Larry, take it away, please.
All right. So here's what I think. I follow Kim Commit. I basically was tutored for years by a prophet, so I really believe seriously in prophecies. Here's what he had to say. This was in 2014, all the way back then. And he says, a rendering is coming in the fall. Many will fall and many will rise from the dust. But remember, when these tremors and when these tumultuous moments happen, listen for it, I will make it so the fall can do the work in America. Let's go to the next one immediately, and then I'll tie this up. And this is another one made on the same day. Winners shall say, I will make them happy. I have chosen each season to manifest something. My will shall be done. And up at the top it says Hypnotic November and Christmas. So what do we have? We had a crazy summer with everything you could think of happening, all kinds of tumultuous events. And now we're in the fall. And what have we done? We've gone into Venezuela. And there were multiple reasons we went, but I think politically, the most, not economically, but politically, the most important was to get Maduro and to finally understand that the 2020 election was stolen, as well as numerous others, and basically expose the penetration of the global financial elite into the election systems of 72 different countries. And so now what are we seeing? And it's going to escalate. We're going to see that once all that comes out, that bank leaders, corporate leaders, and politicians at all levels of government are going to be exposed. They're going to be tendering their resignation so they can get out of the spotlight, and many of them are going to be arrested. So what we've all been praying for is just about to happen. The main show is beginning. So I'll take it back to you, and then we'll go on.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is, look, we go in. Do you think that maybe if we have the power to shut the lights off in an entire city the size of Caracas, Venezuela, that maybe we might be able to shut off other things like weaponry, maybe minus the machine guns, which are mechanical? You can't shut down machine guns, right? But
I think the United States of America has technology that the world can't
doesn't
even
know.
imagine.
Right.
I think we have anti-gravitational things that look like flying saucers. I think we have unbelievable weaponry. But we'll see.
We wiped out 90 elite soldiers trained in Cuba. The best Cuba's got to offer. They didn't stand a chance against our forces, folks. Not one of our guys got as little as a scratch on their finger, but 90 elite soldiers from the other side are dead. Do you understand? I think they shut off a lot more than just the lights, to be quite honest with you. It was like, we're shooting at you, but you can't shoot at us, because not only you can't see us and we could see you, but we got a red dot right on your head. You know what I mean? So let's go to the next slide, brother.
All right. This is just for conversation going down. This is what's been happening in the world for the last 6-8 weeks. And I thought it might be a nice place for us just to have a general conversation. We can talk about Venezuela and what was the motives there. We can talk about what's happening in Iran right now. We can talk about the Russian war. We can talk about the struggle between Taiwan for chips and China. But I want to concentrate most importantly on the center slide on basically the Monroe Doctrine and the Western Hemisphere and what we have to do. So I'll let you kick it off, and let's just have a general conversation on this slide, and then we'll kind of go through quickly a lot of the others.
Well, look, I think personally there's going to be a dominoes to fall here. Not only is Maduro going to sing like a canary, that's going to go right into the arrest of Obama and the whole clan right there. Once he sings like a canary and he starts to point fingers, yes, it was Obama, yes, it was Hillary, yes, it was McCabe, yes, it was Comey, yes, and line them all up, then the American people can get pissed off if nobody gets arrested. But I think on the contrary, I think everybody's going down. Okay. I think Cuba is next. I don't think Cuba needs to be intervened. I think they're going to implode on their own. But the question, the $72,000 question is this: do we allow them to implode and have a civil war and have complete total chaos? Or do we intervene and stop a civil war from happening and put in the proper people so that we can have Nasara Jasara? You can't have heaven on earth, Nasara Jasara on earth as it is heaven, or heaven as it is, right? How is that saying going? On heaven as it is in earth, or the other way around? Right?
It doesn't make any difference.
Right. But you know what I'm saying, right? So you can't have that and have the devil living right next door to you, selling drugs and fentanyl and child trafficking. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. I think Colombia is definitely a go. I think Colombia should be fucking shitting in their pants right about now, because if I was them and they're still a narco state and they are still importing cocaine, okay, and they haven't snapped out of their ways of the 80s and 90s, I think Donald Trump is going to do what he's got to do. This is a war. It's going to have casualties. The people over there where they have the Somalis, what's that state? Minnesota, not Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Minnesota, you're right. They're yelling and screaming because ISIS supposedly killed somebody. It's a war. There's going to be casualties on both sides. When the war is over, the war is over. But this war is for all of the casino chips, like my friend Nino Rodriguez likes to say?
I'm going to try to frame it in one great, big, huge global picture. I'm going to go back to the Bible to do it. Kim Clement said, everything that can shake will be shaken. And he said that the whole geopolitical system, the whole economic system of the world was going to be brought down with a small stone. What's that stone? Has it been thrown? Are we in the midst of basically the financial reset and of the transfer of wealth? That stone, now go back up to where we were. That stone is basically silver. And that silver is going to cause a cascade that's going to cause banking systems around the world to collapse. And what we're seeing right now is absolute chaos around the world. So we got Venezuela and we've got access to their oil, and and we're going to get clarification on the theft of the election. If you look at the feeds on Iran, the people are absolutely routing the military forces in Iran, and that nation is about to fall. If you look in China, basically the people are in desperation and they're routing the government. They're calling for CCP to be taken down, for JGP to be taken down. And if you look at Russia and Ukraine, that war is escalating massively. And I think that what's happening is we have to have all of these systems, every one of them has to come down. The financial system, all these governments, and that'll take us to what's in the next slide. But basically, what we're seeing is the fall. No, stay on this slide.
Okay.
So basically, what we're seeing is all of these governments are basically on the tip of collapse. What's happened before when there was an event like this in the world is there was a power, and they were falling, but there was another power out there that was stronger and was going to take it over. That's not the case right now. Russia's in trouble. China's in trouble. Iran's in trouble. India's kind of okay. America's in trouble. There's no heir apparent to the throne. We're going to come out with a whole new system. We're going to come out with a system where basically there's not one geopolitical superpower, but a multipole. We'll probably have the United States and China and Russia. I don't think the EU is going to survive to be that strong. They're in real trouble. But I want to focus on that slide in the middle. That's why I keep telling you to come back. I want you to understand what Donald Trump understands and what he's doing. This is the master chessboard I'm about to explain. Basically, the world's power is shifting from the West ostensibly to Asia. There's 80% of the world's population in Asia. The reason they don't have what we have over here, which is the largest domestic consumer market in the world, is because they've got a lot of poverty. As they come out of that poverty, that 80% of the population is going to get a larger and larger consumer market, and that's a competition with the United States. Trump understands that, and here's the political chessboard. If you look over to the left, you look at Alaska. That's to give us a buffer with Russia. If you look over to the right, that's Greenland. That is strategic for the Arctic Circle transit and for, again, a buffer with Russia. If you look down to where Central America and South America connect, that's the Panama Canal. We have to have that. That's strategic. If you look down to the bottom of South America, we just bailed out Argentina in a money swap so that we have a friendly nation down there. Those are all seaports. Everybody in the world understands, who's a military person, you must control the seaports in your hemisphere. Then we've got to look at our nations and say, are we in the midst of a whole bunch of enemies? So Canada, most people don't realize, they think they're our friend. They are still under the crown, and Canada is in really shaky position. 6 of the provinces have basically now initiated requests for referendums to possibly get out from under Canada. And I think the best thing would happen is if either we make a really, really good agreement with Canada, or they join us, because both nations would benefit, our technology and their natural resources. We go to Mexico, and all of Mexico, Latin America, and South America has allowed all of those immigrants to come up through their nations to come into the United States. They're all narco-terrorist countries. What we have to do, what Trump has to do, is basically do what he said. He's declaring each and every one of those gangs as terrorist organizations, meaning he can attack them anywhere. What we have to do is get the narcos out and give sovereignty to every nation in Mexico, Latin America, and South America, and get on good trading terms with them, because we need to have a secure Western Hemisphere. Now we can go to the other slide. And what that signals is what I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. We're on the brink of the collapse of both capitalism and communism. Capitalism, because we are wasting natural resources. It's a system of greed, and you have to keep growing and growing and consuming and consuming. We've got a finite planet, and we're now running into a real wall where we realize that we have constraints on the amount of natural resources, and that's where we're at right now. And so capitalism must fall. I mean, then the global elite want to take us down because they conceive us as what? As useless eaters consuming their natural resources. So that's the war that they're fighting against us. On the other side, all the communist nations out there, Cuba, Iran, China, they're all falling apart because the people absolutely are in oppression, and they're standing up, and they're fighting back. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to find out that there's another system that can be put up. I guess, oops, I'll slide off. But so what has to happen for all this transition?
Let's stay here.
No, you're good. So stay there. What has to happen for this global reset to happen is we have to deglobalize. That means we have to get into a situation where no one nation can control the global supply chain. That means that the control of trade has to be stripped away from China. Likewise, we have used our dollar as a weapon, so the control of the dollar over the world has to be taken down. We got to start all over with a completely new system. So now if you go to the next slide, wait a minute. Go up. I think maybe we skipped a slide. No, okay, go down. I'm wrong. Going down. Going down. All right, so here's what we come up with. Basically, people who don't know history don't understand what happened. God always has a precursor. We're not experimenting. We're just going back to something that we know worked before. And that was a system called the American economic system. It was the only system of which it was ever said that it equalized while elevating the condition of all mankind. And it occurred in the United States of America over a 34-year period when we developed the Industrial Revolution. We put tariffs on England to 50%. That meant we couldn't buy their goods. And so we had to basically what? Developed the Industrial Revolution, the transcontinental railroad system, and we became the wealthiest nation in the world on our 100th year anniversary. This on the far bottom left is what's going to happen. The whole world is going to have to face this resource constraint, and we're going to have to change to a new system where we have product longevity instead of planned obsolescence. That means we will consume massively less and less material than we use. We have to have products that are reusable and that are repairable. We have to go together and lock arms, and we have to have a system that shares resources and technology, and we have to have planetary stewardship. When that happens, we will issue in a period of peace and prosperity. And what Trump is doing is he's already put to bed 8 wars, and now we have to get the last bit of it done, which is Iran and which is Russia and Ukraine. And then we can walk into this. And when we get into the new system that's right before your eyes right there, that's not fiat. The fiat's gone. It's based on what? God's economic system. He gave us a cornucopia of wealth based on commodities. He said all the gold and silver is here, all the cattle on 1,000 hills are here, and with that, it can't be manipulated. So we'll no longer be able to have inflation, deflation, wage suppression, stock market manipulation, boom bust cycles, national consumer debt, poverty division, and global conflicts. So that's what we're leading into. We're leading into the most chaotic period the world has ever seen, leading to a breakthrough that leads to peace and prosperity, and the division within all the nations is going to go away. And here's how it's going to happen. We are going to all falter and fall, and we're going to have to realize that the only way back is to help one another. And we're going to create an economic system that basically allows all the nations in the world to have a decent standard of living. And when we have that, it'll be like Eisenhower said, is there any man or any woman or any child that doesn't understand the principal cause of war is financial inequity between nations? We're headed to that chaotic period that leads us through chaos into order. And that order will be based on standing together and basically regreening this planet. So the next several weeks, I'm going to go into stewardship for what we have to do to heal this planet that we've been killing. And you just told me about a letter that you wrote to the governor of Florida about the chemtrails. So we're on the same wavelength. Let me shut up and go to the next slide and you talk.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a possibility? You know, my friend, I like to call him Jeff Bezos. Which slide were we on? We're on this one here, I think.
Going down.
All right. My friend,
Maybe
I call him
there.
Jeff Bezos. His name is he's known as the XRP shaman. He is constantly harping on the fact that we are moving towards 7 kingdoms. Is that anywhere in the Bible? Do you know? Because I know you're a Bible scholar. Do you know of anything in the Bible that points to 7 kingdoms during this exact time?
No, I know about Revelation 13 and about the UN, where what they're trying to do on the bad side is create a 10 block trading zone, which is basically the beast system, where they can basically handle through trade, determine who can buy and who can sell. And that system is already in place. And we'll talk about it when we get to another slide. But what is happening is that the superpowers are all breaking up. And what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of regional powers. And what we're going to go back to, which might be seven kingdoms, is we're going back to this. If you go back hundreds of years, you'll see that there were cultural strongholds within the world. And if you look at that, Turkey's now rising out of the ashes and becoming a cultural stronghold. And so ethnic groups are rising. Japan's now basically rearming. I think we're going to see a decentralization of military and of everything. So it could easily be seven nations, seven strongholds, if you will.
Absolutely. Next
To
slide.
go back to this, what this is basically saying is we need to look at what they're doing with silver, and silver is positioned to cause a severe economic hardship on the United States if they're telling us the truth about how little silver we have. I mean, I don't trust the information I get from anybody, but basically you can't run an industrial society without silver. And if we get squeezed to where we don't have enough silver, then we're going to have to prioritize. And the good thing that can come out of it is it will expose all of the technologies that are related to the green scam. But through that, what we're going to see is the Defense Production Act might be implemented, because we have set back for decades and let Russia and let China go all over the world securing mineral assets that are vital to an industrial society. And we may have to come in and we may have to basically take control so that we have the necessary things we need to run our economy. I'm just trying to warn people that that could happen. So we can go on down. We can skip that next slide completely. All it's saying is the silver squeeze is going to put a squeeze on the banks. And as these banks are put into a situation where they can't meet their calls on their silver holdings, they're going to have to declare force majeure. And I believe we're going to see major banks fall. So this is leading to a complete global financial reset, which has to happen, because as long as the powers to be that want to rule us own the monetary system, they control all the spheres of influence. So as scary as that might seem, it's actually got to happen in order for us to have peace and prosperity. Shall we go on down? Do you have any comments you want to add?
Well, no, other than the fact that, I'm going to go back and harp on this one last time, hopefully, maybe even, who knows, maybe I'll do another one just for a bonus. But you cannot have countries where their leaders are drug dealers, bringing in drugs into the United States, child trafficking. We're going to allow you to do whatever you want with our children. We're going to allow you to bring fentanyl, cocaine, open borders, anything you want to do to the United States, we're open for it. Okay. And we're going to allow this new wealth transfer to happen at the same time. It just doesn't mix. It doesn't mix.
That's why I had the slide up of the Western Hemisphere. That's what Trump is doing. He's got troops at the border to secure our southern border. He's putting pressure on Canada. He's basically telling South America and Latin America and Mexico, you're done with the drug traffickers. We're going to take them out. And basically, all of those nations, and from Mexico all the way down to the tip of South America, are not sovereign nations. They're run by drug cartels. And he's saying we're going to take them out and we're going to give you an opportunity to be sovereign nations. And when that happens, we'll cooperate with you and we'll have unity in the Western Hemisphere.
Absolutely. You want to go to the next slide, or you're good on this one?
Yeah, we can stay here. So here's what I want you to see. I want you to realize that we're lied to every once in a while. Now look at this, there's red part up here. In 2016, silver production peaked, and it has declined 7% since. So we do appear to have a silver shortage. And estimates are that by 2030, silver supply might meet only 62 to 70% of silver demand. And I want to tell you what that means. If you look at the green scam, here's what it means. It means that we are wasting 50% of the world's total silver capacity is wasted on 5G, on windmills, on batteries for EVs and on solar panels. And right now, they're all basically going to be driven out of market because guess what? They're now not affordable with the new higher prices from silver, which I think is a great thing because they were designed to basically drive the world into economic collapse and especially targeted for United States. So what you're seeing right now today over in China is you're seeing they are the leader in all of those technologies. And all four of those industries are collapsing in on themselves because they can't cost effectively produce those technologies. So this gives us the opportunity to pull the spotlight on what they've done to the ecological system. And basically, we have technologies out there that'll work. And so I'm going to read this part. We acknowledge the fact that silver, wind, battery power, and EVs are grossly inefficient and keep us dependent on the grid. Every one of them connects to the grid. So to tell us in any way, shape, or form that those technologies are going to get us to zero carbon emissions is a bald-faced lie because they're all connected to the carbon belching grid. We need to go to different technologies, which we have, which have been suppressed, which we can talk about later. So this is an opportunity for America to really, really make a play. So that's one of the places we can push back on China is suppressing all those green technologies that they control. So along with the exodus, the general exodus from manufacturing from China, if we can put a real dent in all those green technologies, it's going to hurt China really bad.
Absolutely.
Should we go on?
Yeah, you said something earlier that I totally resonate with you on. And you said we got to bring in Eric Trump. I couldn't agree with you more. Okay. Eric Trump is the only way we bring the baton forward and carry the trajectory of Donald Trump for the next 8 years, 2028 going forward, right? There is no way you bring in politicians. It doesn't matter where they're center, right, or left. It doesn't matter. It's what is suited the same card, right? You're going to have a problem. You're going to go back into the New World Order. There is no question in my mind. No one can tell me any different. I don't like politicians. I don't trust politicians. As much as we like DeSantis down here, and he seems to be doing all the right things. Okay, let me tell you something. That is what is it? Skull and Bones, Yale graduate, and his site is also on the White House. Don't think for 1 second that DeSantis is not running in 2028. There's gonna be like 29 candidates running for president of the United States in 2028, and DeSantis will be one of many. And again, he's as nice as he is, and he's trying to do his job, and he does his job to the best of his ability. And he's got maybe a B- on my scorecard here in Florida, and not an A plus like a lot of people like to give him. A B-. I think that he's basically set on bringing the entire world back into the New World Order, and he wants the White House. That's why he's doing everything right here in Florida. Next slide.
Well, here's a show that I'm going to do in the next few weeks.
Sure.
I got a request from the Republicans to donate, and they were kind enough to send me Donald Trump's entire midterm slate. What I'm going to do is list that, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to make a simple statement. Promises made, promises kept. And I'm going to break down each one of those. There's almost 20 different points and tell you all of the myriad of things he's done to deliver and how much better off America is. And then they can contrast that to any other politician out there if they want to. It is clearly decisive that Donald Trump has come in and has turned the entire world upside down, and it's going to be for the better. So
Larry, in your opinion,
so I'll get back to you when I'm ready.
Larry, in your opinion, is Eric Trump qualified to run the United States of America? Yes or no?
How loudly do I need to scream? Yes, absolutely, emphatically. Yes, he's. Look at the size of the Trump Corporation. Look at the education he's had. Look at the real world knowledge that he has. Look at everything he's encountered with his father. There couldn't be anybody that's gone through the gauntlet the way that he's gone through the gauntlet and is going to have the real world understanding of who the bad guys are and what we need to do. So, and he's I think he's just like his father. He can't be bought. He's got everything he could want. He's the perfect candidate.
Yeah, and I think he's got the world record on subpoenas.
Yeah.
And he never broke, not once.
Nope.
Exactly. Let's go on.
Let's go on down. Let's just skip through this one. We're going to basically show the world that the Green New Deal is a scam. And here's where we're going to start. So basically, did you know this is coming from a really good documentary, The Lost 100 Years? So in 1921, this gentleman documented that Nikola Tesla's Pierce Arrow automobile could run on free energy from the air. And then in 1987, this is about all those suppressed patents that Trump has given us access to with the Chevron decision that came down from the Supreme Court. There was a device, and it was in 1987, a device the size of a pack of cigarettes that could run an automobile with energy from the vacuum. We have it. And the key, there's several different ways we can approach this, but I think the most likely solution is basically magnets. Magnets, they don't have to be connected to the grid. They last 300 years. And there was a guy who got caught up in all of this, but he had a car that was running all across Australia 10, 15 years ago, 415 horsepower, powered by magnets. We're going to get these technologies. And by the way, in terms of rare earth, boy, something just came out. We've been allowing China to basically take over the rare earth market. Well, guess what we found out? We powered the United States with coal for almost 100 years, right? Guess what? We just found out that those coal mines are about to power us into the technological revolution of the future. What happens is water drains out of those coal mines, and it creates an acid and gets into the creeks. And what it does is it breaks all the minerals out of those rocks. And what we've now found out is that they all contain rich deposits of rare earth, and it is cheaper to mine it. And we basically are on the brink of an absolute treasure trove of energy coming from cleaning up the creeks in America, and as a byproduct getting massive amounts of rare earth. So all that's coming. So anyway, basically going down below, we need to understand that we can't run this world with those batteries. There's not enough silver in the entire world to have a fleet of cars running around the world using batteries and have windmills out there and have solar panel farms that go everywhere. We have to go to alternative technologies, and they are going to be released real soon. Let's go on down and we'll talk real quickly about the scam with solar. Look at this picture. If you go down to the next slide, look at that mass of solar panels. They're going into our landfills, and they're full of all kinds of toxic substances. As fast as we can build those solar
silver,
farms,
they're loaded with silver.
all kinds of silver. They're hogs. If you just take the batteries and you take the solar panels, they alone represent about 50% of all the silver production in the world, and it's growing catastrophically. So we cannot afford to go down this path. So it's going to give us the opportunity to massively expose the scam of the green energy deal. And what that's going to do then is basically put a damper on this supposed silver shortage that we have, because if we don't waste that silver on these technologies, it's available for other more strategically important applications. So I'm going to just beat this horse to death that we have to expose the Green New Deal scam. And let's go down to the next one. That's wind. My son lives in Texas, which is pretty far south, but they happened to have a snowstorm a few years ago, and all those windmills froze up. And so you can't use these everywhere. When they're in the water, they kill marine life, or on the land, they kill the birds. They take massive amounts of land that can be used to grow food or for whatever else. So basically, all of these technologies, and remember, they're all connected back to the grid. And let me give you an example. I'm back on the solar panels. If you make a solar panel that has more than 30% efficiency, they won't let it on the market. And then you want to see how much weight we're wasting. So basically, that solar panel creates 30% of the energy. It loses of that 60% in transmission and lands to wherever it's going to be used. So we've got the most expensive form of energy the planet has ever seen, and it's still connected to the grid. We need to expose this. So this silver shortage is giving us the opportunity to see this as a strategically significant issue that we have to take on head on. Should we go on down? Comments?
Nope. Keep going.
We can just skip that one. I'll just beat it to death. There's free energy out there, or virtually free energy in all kinds of different forms, and we've got the ability to get to them now because of the Chevron decision. We're going to see those things rolling out next year. Now it'll take some while to bring them in there, to bring them into production, but they're there. And this is really where I want to drive home this whole thing on what's the ultimate end game. So the end game for the green energy solution is to basically say we have to come to the grips with the fact that the global financial elite really do consider us to be useless eaters. They really do want to kill most of us. They want to reduce the population, according to the Georgia Guidestones, to 500 million, according to the UN, to 1 billion. And that solves their resource problem as far as they're concerned. But we can solve it with the alternative technologies that I've talked about, and basically not waste the resources, but go to a new economic system that builds things that are designed to last as long as humanly possible. And that will drastically reduce the waste and the consumption of the world's finite natural resources. So it's either let them kill us or take them on their own turf and get a completely new economic system and completely new technologies.
Well, that's exactly my fight against the chemtrails, my friend, is because do you think that maybe if we're useless eaters and they want to kill all of us, we know that that's true, right? Do you think that maybe there's something in those chemtrails that is messing with our DNA and messing with our testosterone so that we cannot replicate as fast as they want us to because it plays into their Agenda 2030?
Well, I won't answer that directly, but I will answer it sarcastically.
Please.
Basically, sperm counts in males all over the world are dropping dramatically.
Gee, we live on a planet that we're being sprayed upon. Do you think that maybe
dramatically.
somebody's spraying us with some shit that doesn't fucking belong in the air?
That's what
I'm
I'm
sorry
saying.
for interrupting you, but I get heated about this shit.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I kind of keep myself a little light, but yeah, they're trying to reduce population any way and every way they can, with viruses, with poison in their food, with poison in the air, with poison in the water. Now, I want to say something. This slide and the next slide are the two most important slides. I encourage you to take a snapshot. I want to drive this home to you. For those people out there who have any influence at all, listen carefully to this. If the world is foolish enough to side with China in this economic war that we're having, this screen tells you what you're going to get. Here's the history of what's going on. If you go back 10 years, China was the leader in Bitcoin mining. And then all of a sudden they booted them all out. And now it's being done here. And Trump is saying, we're going to be the crypto capital of the world. Why did they do that? Because they have 5G facial recognition. They have internet monitoring. So you go on the internet and they got bots chasing you every place you go. They've got programmable currency. I'm going to come back to that. They've got a social credit score, and I'm going to tell you in a minute what that is. And basically they can determine what you can buy and sell. It is implementation of the beast system. It exists. It's here today. And they want a system that is centralized. They want central bank digital currency so that anybody that doesn't absolutely submit to the CCP and their tyranny, they can mark you so that you can't buy, you can't sell, you can't travel, you can't have a friend, you basically just put in total 100% isolation. Do you want to live under a system like that? A beast system that takes away every bit of freedom you could possibly have. That's the system that is now in place in China. And that's why if you'll turn your internet on and go do some searching, you'll find that there are massive revolts happening in China right now because the people do not want to live under that system. That's the decision that we have to make right now. Are we going to submit to live under China and under that suppression, or are we going to live under the system that is going to be available under the economic system that one Donald J. Trump is proposing? So comments before we go on?
Yeah,
so that's
central bank
right there.
Yeah, central bank digital currencies. Trump said they're never gonna set foot in the United States, and they haven't, and they won't. To every problem, there's a solution. Somebody came out with clothing that throws the system of reading your face off completely. Clothing that's camouflage, that's anti this system. Now, if you get caught with that clothing in China, you might get a death sentence. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because that's the system we want to fall. 2026 is going to be the year where communism falls worldwide. North Korea, Cuba, China, everywhere, right? And let me tell you
Just turn
something.
your TV on. Iran is getting routed, and China is reached the point of absolute desperation, and and Russia's in real trouble. It's near revolt. So
Yeah.
basically, yes, the kingdoms of man are in the process of falling, and we're in the process of going to a new economic system. Let's go to the next slide
So
and we'll
yeah,
show
we
you what
will.
the
But before
economic
we
system is.
before we do that, let me tell you, not only did these guys come out with the clothing, right? But to every problem, there's somebody that always invents some kind of a solution. Recently, Cliff High. Now I didn't see the video myself. I just heard this. This is hearsay. I'm sure if it's out there, you guys could put the link down below. Okay, but Cliff High said that silver has every possibility of going to $10,000 an ounce. Okay, this is what he said. Think about one thing. How many refrigerators have at least 2 ounces of of silver in them right now that have been thrown away for the last 10, 15, 20 years? There's the silver sitting in a junkyard right now. Right now, it's only worth $78.28. But if it goes to $10,000, how many people will start a business of going and buying those refrigerators and mining the silver? If you mine 2 refrigerators alone per day, you're making $20,000 a day. How you doing? You feeling me? Unbelievable.
The world's changing. That's all I can tell you. So this is what Donald Trump is offering the world to contrast what China is offering. He's already put in one of his bills that by law that there's not going to be any central bank digital currency. He went to Bitcoin because it's decentralized. He went to XRP because it's decentralized. He's giving us an economic system that's going to replace SWIFT, and it's going to free up capital. So as we go through all these banks collapsing and all the turmoil that's coming, he's getting us positioned to basically have the ability to execute XRP's implementation very rapidly and create the liquidity that we need to keep the world's system running. And it'll be decentralized. It'll provide privacy. So here's what happens when we're talking about solving problems. Under that system, you won't be able to have election fraud because the system will catch you immediately. You won't be able to have banks and corporations and individuals that are money laundering because the system will catch it immediately. It's based on quantum computing, and it's based on blockchain, and it's based on transparency, and it prevents money laundering. And it's basically the antithesis of what China is trying to do. It's taking us from a period of slavery into a period of freedom. So folks, you need to pay attention to these 2 slides, because before you is the question, are you willing to live under absolute subjugation, or do you want freedom? America is the only nation in the world that can do what I'm about to say. When we get fully out from under the global financial elite, the world's going to find out that who America really is. We're going to bring back economic stability to the world. And here's what we are. We are basically able to check every box that you see there. There's not another nation in the world that can do it. We're a free society, a nation that most of the people trust. I mean, they may say they don't, but I tell you, if you look over in Iran, they're flying American flags. They're thanking Donald Trump in Iran for what he's done over there. Look at Venezuela. Those people are not unhappy that Donald Trump has come in there. And I guarantee you, when Cuba falls, the people will be jubilant. So we are a society that basically the world trusts. We have a diverse and abundant natural resources. We have reach all over the world, diverse, innovative economy, and basically their faults. Like if you look at Russia, why is Russia in such an economic turmoil? Because it basically has most of its economy based on natural gas and oil. You have to have a diverse economy so that you can handle all kinds of disruptions that happen in the society. Leadership in manufacturing and trade. Who invented the Industrial Revolution? America. Who invented .com? America. Who invented the computer? America. Who invented the internet? America. Who is the head in quantum computing? America. So we are the innovators of the world, and therefore we are going to be the ones that are going to come up with the solutions that the world needs when we're in crisis. And you have to have energy and food independence. So let's look at other places in the world. China has lost, they have 17 dynasties. 5 of those 17 dynasties fell because of food insecurity and water insecurity. And they have a lot of floods and a lot of problems over there. And we are a food exporter. We export food to 100 different nations. And then also something as far as a broadly reaching geopolitical structure, you have to have a common language. The common language of the world is English. And we have to have a strong military. And I think that's so that you can control the situation. People are finding out that America has some pretty slick stuff up its sleeve. So I think when it's all said and done, these 3 slides come together. If you want to live in suppression, go ahead. Embrace China for whatever carrot they put in front of you. If you want to live in freedom, America is your ticket. If you want to have what I've just outlined in this last slide, America is your ticket. Now we're going to change to a completely different topic, and we're going to talk about specifics of what you can do in order to benefit from what's coming. This is God's transfer of wealth. He wants his people to come out of this just like the Israelites did when they had the Exodus, come out wealthy people. And so I know you know a lot about this. I'm going to divert to you for a minute, and then I'll chime back in.
Well, there's another business opportunity coming, Larry, and it's right underneath everybody's nose. Once the regimes have been replaced with a Nasara Jassara leadership in all of these countries, you can go buy up a piece of Cuba, and Cuba is going to be a jewel in the Caribbean. It's going to turn out to be paradise on earth because it's got some of the best beaches in the world that are completely untouched right now. Okay, and people can be able to buy properties and set up shop and start hotels, motels, whatever, pizza shops, laundry, whatever, anything and everything you could possibly imagine. They're going to need it because this country is going to graduate just like the rest of the world's about to graduate. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I've done a whole show, hour long, on alternative investment opportunities outside the United States. Since you brought that up, I'll just go real quickly. There's no slides. I'll just go quickly. So let's look at the world and see if we can find out, once you get some money from this simpler strategy that we're going to talk about, where might you take your money? All right, so we have to look over to Asia, and Asia is growing, and it's got 80% of the world's population. All the manufacturing is leaving China. Where is it going? First place it goes, first stop, is to the nations around China that have cultural similarities, that are geographically close. That means Vietnam, that means Thailand, that means Japan, that means South Korea, etc. So those nations are all going to greatly benefit economically. The GDP is going to grow, the manufacturing is going to grow. So you might want to look into those nations as growth opportunities. Then you want to come to another nearshoring opportunity, which is Mexico. So if Mexico will stay with the trade agreements and not breach them, and have factories that manufacture in America and don't just cut off labels and place them, then you'll be able to come to America and you'll be able to manufacture in Mexico and come across under the Mexican, American, Canadian agreement of paying no tariffs. So that's another investment opportunity. And then you can look at nations around the world that are generally small, that have high-tech industries that they're leaders in, like Finland for the techs, for the chips, and like Sweden for the money. And so basically you can do your own homework, but those are going to be areas. And then when we get out of this minerals, we can look at this. It's very sophisticated. Like, we have to have a whole show on it. But basically, it's not just gold and silver and copper as physical bars. We're going to be having to increase mining, and there's a whole scenario for what you need to know if you're going to go play in that market. There's a block on the screen. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I got rid of it.
Want to comment on what I just said before we go back to this?
No, I think Nasara Jassara is going to create this world where there's going to be literally an opportunity under every rock. And there'll be so much wealth, even the people who are not invested, but yet they have a thriving business, for example, and they're not really invested in gold or silver or XRP or the digital assets, but they're making, $5 million, $10 million a year, profit. Those people, once you get rid of the IRS and all these draconian leeches that are literally sucking our blood, and you got that kind of, disposable income at the end of every year, and there's an opportunity under every rock because of Nasara Jassara, my God, the world becomes your oyster. It really does. So is this slide good, or we go to the next one?
No, stay here. We haven't even talked about this yet. Let me just make a comment on Nasara. Again, I've done whole shows on it, but there are a lot of people who are skeptical. I want to give you the foundation of Nasara. Just one quick comment. Basically, Nasara came up in a a situation where they were taking farms away from farmers in the Depression, and the farmers got together and they got to the Supreme Court, and here's what was decided. They pleaded the case that the farmers had equity, they had something tangible on the table. They had their farms, their labor, their equipment, everything, and the banks had nothing, just fiat currency. And so what happened is they won, and basically they said that the banks could no longer take their property because the legal contract did not exist, because the banks had nothing tangible in the contract. That's the basis for Nasara, and that's going to be what is going to come in. That's going to do exactly what Mel just said. But now let's go to a real simple strategy. Basically, gold is going to go through the roof. Donald Trump has said he's going to at some point in time declare that gold is worth $20,000, and he's going to declare that Bitcoin is worth $1 million. That's going to give us $6.2 trillion that we can use to bring down the debt to GDP ratio in America. But anyway, silver is going to go up, up, up. But of the two, if what I'm going to be careful. I'm not a financial analyst. This is what I have done. You go do your own homework. All right. I have made the decision that silver, the ratios are in favor of silver as far as an investment. It's been as much as 80-1. It took 80 silver coins to buy one gold bar. Right now, you know what? One silver coin is worth as much as a barrel of oil. One silver coin, even today, as much as a barrel of oil. And when we get down to where silver's 30-1 or less, you're going to have made a whole lot of money. And silver is going to go up and down. It's going to be very volatile, but it's going to be semi-liquid. You'll be able to come in and out of it, where with gold you can't. So basically, that's all I have to say. Just understand that you don't want to be put in a position where you're locked in on assets that don't have any liquidity. And of the two, silver has more liquidity than gold, and also more upside. So we can go to the next slide. What I want people to understand is, when we go back to what we were talking about before, where basically the government might be forced to confiscate strategic assets, if you think you've hidden what you have, you're drastically wrong. If you've done any transactions with a major gold, silver, or dillar silver, they have a record of it. If you've wired currency, they have a record. If you've got a safety deposit box, they have a record. If you've imported something from abroad, they have a record. If the government takes your tracks your digital footprint, they have a record of anything you've done. So there's a couple of little hints on the next slide as to, for those of you who have a lot of assets you want to hide, as a couple of things you might want to do. That's probably not a strategy for the average person, but let's go to the next slide and we'll look at a couple of things you can do. Whoops. Actually, I guess it's not there. This is one of the more important slides though, but I'll go on with this train of thought. I thought it was the next slide up. So basically what you need to know is, if you have silver coins and you think any of them have numismatic value, get them certified, because in the bills that are out there, they're not going to be able to confiscate numismatic coins. And if you want to be safe against whatever they do in the United States, it's always a good idea to invest. So you might put, if you've got a lot of silver, put some in a vault in another country. So that's simply that. This is important. Silver squeezes is basically on. And if we use our voices, we can use this to get out from under the Green Deal. So what people, when people stop selling gold and start buying silver, that's something you should watch for. At that point, you're understanding that there's a shift happening between the two metals, and you need to pay attention to decide if you're going to sell a little bit. And when you do reach the point that you've decided to sell, here's what I do. I look at how much I put into the investment, and I say my first sell is going to be to get me neutralized where I've got back what I put in. And then what I do is I basically cost average into whatever investment I'm going into, and I cost average out of it. So I don't want to get out too soon. I don't want to get out too late. So I stair step out of that investment. And likely when gold and silver ratio reaches 30-1, that's going to be a time when you should stop and start doing some research, because you might see that silver has gotten high enough that demand is slowing down, and that might be a point at which you might want to get out of some of your silver. This is all going to require dynamic change, and you're going to have to study it and follow it. But basically, we're already reaching and have reached the point where the price of silver has now made it virtually economically infeasible to have the the solar panel industry have the growth that it's having. It's already suppressing it. It's going to suppress many other technologies. So just be alert as to what's going on, and keep some silver and ride it to the absolute end, because you have no idea, if, like Mel said, is it going to stop at $300, or is it going to go to 1,000 or 10,000? So that's why you want to gradually get out, and you want to be doing all of your research as you go. And let's see what else. Watch for signs that the government is squeezing the public out. So here's what I'm thinking you're going to see. In 33, they confiscated gold. In 34, they confiscated silver. But now we have the internet and a much more informed public. They're not going to confiscate our silver, at least not what I think. I think what they're going to do is force us out. They're going to put taxes on silver. They're going to put regulations in that are going to make it undesirable so that they can get that silver back. So you will voluntarily make the decision to sell your silver. So Mel, I know this is something you know a lot about. Comment on what I've said. These are just general guidelines.
No, you're good, man.
To evaluate what you're going to do within this market.
I'm hot on silver. I'm very hot on silver. As a matter of fact, I made an outlandish statement. I said the minute silver reaches $200, which I don't expect the month of March will go by, that price tag will not be hit this March 2026. What's going to end up happening is that you're not going to be able to get silver on we at carminesgold.com, okay, which you could still get it right now. You're waiting 2 weeks before delivery. You're going to get the silver. I talked to my partner. He said, absolutely 2 weeks. They'll have silver on their doorstep, the physical, tangible thing. Okay. So if you want that, contact me at 786-704-8817. Only text me, please. And no, that number is not for playing. That's strictly for business. Don't send me any links. Go join my Telegram group, okay? Which is also down below. But anyway, needless to say, I believe that once it hits the $200 price tag, Larry, I think you'll agree with me that it becomes unavailable. And the minute it becomes unavailable, he who has the gold, he and she who has the silver makes the rules, the golden rule, right? I think that you'll be able to dump your silver on the open market for $1,000 all day long if you need money, for example. Okay. Hopefully you don't, and you could write it out all the way to 5,000, 10,000. Not financial advice.
If there's a real shortage, there'll be some manufacturers that will be forced out. It'll cost them out. But sovereign nations will pay anything. They have to keep their military and their technology going, and certain technologies, they don't care what the price is. They have to have it. So you're going to find buyers. So you're going to get them. So you're absolutely right. Absolutely. You want to go down to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
So that's just general things to look at. This was that slide I thought was up before. So let's just go down through it. Just skip that, go to the next slide.
Sure.
And I'm just going to say on the next one, this is another important one, but go to the next slide.
Iraqi dinar and the dong, there's a lot of noise going on in Baghdad right now. A lot of noise.
Well, here's what I want you to see. If you do an analysis of those two governments, you're going to find that there's no logical reason other than political for why they're not being traded on the Forex. They both have stable growing economies. They both have reserve assets and stable governments, no currency or no current military conflicts. They have plenty of natural resources, adequate infrastructure and manufacturing capability, domestic markets, international markets. Their currency is grossly undervalued, and they all have food and water stability. So they're set, and they're both growing. So let's take Iraq. They're basically shipping oil out now, not as raw, but as refined oil. And if you go to Vietnam, I mean, they are growing by leaps and bounds from manufacturing coming out of China. So all we got to do is get everything stabilized. And I think what's happening right now with the possible collapse of China, collapse of Iran, who knows what with the United States, once all the dust settles, bam. Those two currencies are going to pop almost immediately. It's just got to let the current political instability stabilize, which I think is going to happen in the very, very near future. Comments, Mel?
Nope. I agree.
Okay, let's go on. So this is just to give you a quick idea. This is the last time I bought these currencies, the prices, and they're changing every day, but I got dinar for $763 per million, and you can buy it on a currency exchange. Now you'll pay a premium in a currency exchange. Some banks sell it, but you're going to have to dial for dollars to find a bank that does. And the last time I bought it, it was still available on exchangeofamerica.com. You can see it right on the screen. And then let's go to the next slide real quick, and that'll take you to the Vietnam currency. I bought it last at $60 at my local bank. It can be purchased at the same outlets. And what I'm hearing is that basically the dinar is probably going to value at about 4 to 1. And if you want to look at that and say, does that make sense? Before we bombed the heck out of the country, it took $3 to buy 1 dinar. And I think that right now, given some of the problems, the pressure that's on the US dollar, 4 to 1 is not unreasonable. Yeah. And 2 to 1 is what they're saying for the dong. So these are things that you can invest in that are minimal investments. And then there's just one other thing I'm going to talk about in terms of vehicles to put your money in. Let's go on down to the next slide.
I got a friend of mine that owns $1 billion, the Vietnamese money. What do you call it? Dongs? $1 billion.
Yeah, dong.
Yeah,
You'll
billion.
Be happy. He'll be happy. All right. I only bring this one up because I'm a devout Christian. I believe in prophecy, and this is not an ISO 2022 compliancy currency, crypto. This is a meme coin. It does have some interesting things going for it, but there's a lot of prophets that say that as the flight from the dollar goes, those people who can't afford to buy gold and can't afford to buy silver and can't even afford to buy the dong or the dinar, they're going to run to something, and they think there's going to be a spike up in Shiba Inu, but it's going to drop immediately. So you go and pray to the Lord, because I can't give you one tangible reason why you would want to buy this other than to say that the prophets are saying that this is going to be the way. God doesn't leave anybody out of this transfer of wealth. And so if you do it, here's what you need to know. It's likely to spike up overnight and then drop overnight. So if you're going to do it, you need to go get Kraken, because Kraken allows you to basically set sell orders so that you can set at a penny or at a nickel or at a dime and have multiple opportunities to get out. And it might happen in one night while you're asleep. So you go do your homework on all of those things. Don't take anything Mel or I say. Those are just some ideas for you to go and do some research.
Well, here's the problem with that, and I'm going to explain it, but I do have also another friend before I get to what I want to say. I also do have another friend that's got billions of Shiba Inus. Yeah, she's a really cool lady. I was actually hanging out with her last night, so you know who you are. Hello. She lives real close to our center. But anyway, needless to say, when you set your parameters to sell at a specific price, not everybody's able to cash out. Only the big boys who are able to pay that premium of having those elite accounts get the cash out.
That's why I said you've got to go to Kraken. On the other exchanges, you can't get out. But Kraken, from everything I've found from the research I've done, the average person can go in on our Kraken. They can set those sell orders. The only place I know you can do it. Again, go do it.
And it will do millions of orders simultaneously?
All I know is that the people who've had Kraken have been able to get in and out. So I'm not recommending you put a lot in. I'm not even recommending you buying it. Right. I'm just going to say, if you're a Christian and you believe in that, just go. This is where we're going to close. This is it. This is what's happening. America is coming back. America is going to be, just like Donald Trump said, greater than it's ever been. And this is what Donald Trump is doing for us. He's giving us back sovereign currency. He's getting us out from under the fiat system. He's closed that border. But look at what Obama said. What are you going to do? Wave a magic wand to fix the economy? Yep. And he's getting us back honest elections. When we get to the system that's running this country on blockchain, you're not going to have election fraud. And when all the truth comes out about what's happening in Venezuela, I'm telling you, the politicians and the banker gangsters and the corporate thieves are all going to be taken out. Manufacturing prowess, America is going to once again come up and basically innovate itself out of this, and we're going to remove regulatory obstructions. And Donald Trump has commitments for $18 trillion to build new factories, and he said, anybody who will build $1 billion factory, I will remove all of the obstructions and you will be able to start quickly. And energy independence, well, we just got our hands on the largest oil reserve in the entire world. And Donald Trump is going to use that to bring oil prices down, which will be good for America, and to leverage oil against other nations. So global financial parity is what we're shooting for. And Donald Trump has basically everything we need. That's my latest book. But now go on to the next slide. And I want to make a quick announcement. I'm about to release my new book, Restoring the Republic, Liberty Crusade, Restoring the Republic. I'll be talking to my publisher tomorrow. We're tentatively going to put it on pre-sale on the 1st of January and for market sale, full sale on the 16th of February. And it is designed to let you know and understand everything that ever made America great, and is going to make it once again the greatest nation in the world. And it will insulate your children. If you will share this book with your children, they will no longer be able to be brainwashed by the global fleet, because they'll understand things that are not taught in schools. They'll understand the true essence of power. And it's right there. So you can basically sit down with your children after you've absorbed all of this, and you can make them immune to the lies of the global financial elite. So with that, that's all I've got. Mel, you got anything else you want to talk about?
I want to see if I could find this one video. I sent it
Okay.
over. I sent it over to my good friend Drew. Damn it. Let me see if I could just bear with me. Just bear with me. You know who Jim Rickards is, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What do you think as far as credibility wise? Do you think he's got some credibility?
I don't know. Somebody says makes sense, but I'm a little afraid of people who have walked in the halls of power. So,
well, he's definitely
I'll leave it
walked
up
in
to
the
you.
halls of power. Let me tell you.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I just found it. Let me go ahead and cue it up and pause it. Let me put the volume on. Let me share my screen again. This is pretty exciting, and I think it's going to excite the audience as well. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Here we go.
Take a look at this map. The purple spots on this map mark the locations of a hidden fortune stored in the United States. And thanks to a landmark 2024 Supreme Court decision, President Trump is set to release it for the first time in 161 years. Let me explain. For years, we've been told America is bankrupt, that our empire has peaked. But there's a side to the story you've never heard before. Hi, I'm Jim Rickards, former advisor to the CIA and the Pentagon. And the real story began more than a century ago. In 1873, Congress quietly established something I call a secret trust for the American people. And for more than a century, this fund has quietly grown, untouched, into a $150 trillion fortune. That's enough to pay off our entire national debt 4 times over. If you divided it by the number of households in the U.S., it would be enough to turn every American family into a millionaire. Now, this trust should have enriched generations of Americans. That was its intended purpose. Instead, for more than a century, it's remained sealed off from the public. But that's all about to change. Thanks to President Trump. You see, for the first time in more than 40 years, the president has the authority to release this secret trust. It's all thanks to a 2024 Supreme Court ruling. That ruling had paved the way for President Trump to unleash this $150 trillion wealth reserve, and he has clearly stated his intentions to do so. Look, if you understand what's coming next, and you take the proper steps today, you could watch your net worth soar in the coming years. This could be the single biggest wealth building opportunity of a generation. When President Trump unleashes this $150 trillion wealth reserve, it will cement his status as one of the greatest American presidents in history, and it will deliver life-changing wealth to investors who take the right actions today. I explain everything you need to know in a recent interview I did. It's completely free to watch. Simply click the button now to watch it.
Now there's a button supposedly. I'll try to leave the link down below, guys, and you guys can go watch the full video. Fascinating. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's got tremendous amount of credibility. I give you Jim Rickards. I believe that he's been sitting on the board of Ripple secretly. The reason why I say secretly is they don't have to disclose who is or who isn't on the board, because it's still a private company. They're not public yet. Okay. So I believe that he's been sitting secretly on the board of Ripple for a long time, for as long as I've been in XRP, when we purchased it at 0.002 of a penny. Exciting stuff. $150 trillion locked up that is our money. What do you think that money's got to do with?
Well, here's something. This is just a little tidbit from my research, but it's funny that the number that he has is the number that I have. What Donald Trump has just done is made provision to give us access to our federal lands and to all the minerals that are on them. And it supposedly is estimated to be, coincidentally, $150 trillion. I think there might be an overlap between the research I've done and what he just disclosed to you. And yes, America has several different ways that it can become debt free. America is going to come out of this. I don't know how to say it, except we're not going to go into a slavery system. We're going to get out from under the system of the bankers, and we're going to have a free and honest society. And Donald Trump is going to come down as the greatest president and one of the greatest people in the entire history of this world.
Well, I think it has to do also potentially a little bit, at least, with the straw man and the money that they've been stealing from us and the money that they've been making on your marriage license, your divorce license, your remarriage license, your fishing license, your driver's license. Everything is a scam. The parking ticket, the speeding ticket is all traded on the bond market. It's a freaking security. They're making billions on your shit. The reason why we know this, it's going to be in the movie. Amber and I paid a bill. I've said this story before, and today I'm going to release the name of the movie, and you're going to love it, okay? And it's going to be sitting at dearmrpresident.net. You watched my first movie, didn't you?
Yes.
Was that a pretty good movie or what? For a first-timer? If you had to give me a 1 to 5 stars, and not because you're my friend, be honest, what do you think it was? 1 to 5 stars?
4.5.
4.5. That's pretty good for a 1 to. I think we did a bang up job. Not me, as it was a team effort. But we were able to pay a bill. We had friends of ours who were also very smart, and they opened our eyes to this website that you go with your social security number and you use the back of your social security number, and you're able to pay bills because the money that's in that social security number is your money. It's my money. It's our money, right? And we paid a bill for $2,600. We got, I think, 26 or 23. I forget the exact number. Don't hold my feet to the fire on the number. It could be 2,300. Let's use a smaller number just for shits and giggles. And we got an email back saying, thank you. The payment was successful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 6 days later, we say, sorry, your payment kicked back because you're not allowed to know that. Wait a minute. Is there money in that account? How can that payment be successful and then 6 days later it's not successful? Is there money in that account? The short answer is yes. There's a lot of money in that account. Okay. And here's the name of the movie. Dear Mr. President, Part 2, right? Here we go. Ready? Dear Mr. President, show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Just like the movie, Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. That's the name of the movie. I'm releasing it right now. You know why? We're maybe 4 or 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away from maybe releasing it earlier than we wanted to. And
let me give you a confirmation of what you just said.
Yeah.
So if you look at what you just said, you're talking about the Social Security and our birth certificate being used, to keep us in slavery, the Act of 1871. Well, that's all about Nassau. It's about what I was talking about before. Basically, the Supreme Court already decided that they can't do that kind of stuff. They have to have a tangible stake in whatever. And so basically, it's all queued up for what you just said. It's all queued up.
Absolutely. We live in the most amazing times, man. I mean, if you're bored, shame on you. You should come hang out with me and Larry. You won't be bored for long. I promise you that. Larry, it was great having you back again. Let's try to make this like almost a weekly ritual if we can. I like to have you back. The audience loves you and they think we're good together. So the chemistry's there for sure. And if you book by chance, shoots up to the #1 seller list of the New York Times, and you want to use Staying Alive in Cape Canaveral as a place where you can come sign autographs and take pictures and maybe do a presentation on stage, the door is open for you, my friend.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right.
We'll do some more. I've got a whole bunch of stuff queued up because guess what? I was preparing for my book release. So, so
Yeah.
we'll be doing some shows together.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mel. God bless you.
Bye-bye.